Chapter 4.
Now the apostles gathered themselves together unto Jesus and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said unto them, Come yourselves, apart into a solitary place, and rest a while, for there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure, not so much as to eat. And they departed into a solitary place by ship, privately, and the people saw them departing, and many knew Jesus, and ran on foot there out of all cities, and outran them, and came together unto him. And Jesus, when he came out, saw many people and was moved with compassion towards them, because they were as sheep not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And when the day was now far spent, his disciples came unto him and said, This is a solitary place, and now the time for departure has come. Send them away, that they may go into the country round about and into the villages, and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat. And he answered and said unto them, You give them to eat. And they say unto him, Shall we go and buy 200 pennies worth of bread and give them to eat? He said unto them, How many loaves do you have? Go and see. And when they knew, they say, 5, and 2 fishes. And he commanded them to make all sit down by companies upon the green grass. And they sat down in ranks, by hundreds, and by 50s. And when he had taken the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves, and gave to his disciples to set before the multitude. And the 2 fishes divided he among them all. And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments and of the fishes. And they that did eat of the loaves were about 5,000 men. And immediately he constrained his disciples to get into the ship and to go to the other side before him, unto Bethsaida, while he sent away the people. And when he had sent them away, he departed into a mountain to pray. And when evening had come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land, and he saw them toiling and rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them. And about the 4th watch of the night, he comes unto them, walking upon the sea, as if he would have passed by them. And when they saw him walking upon the sea, they supposed it had been a spirit and cried out, for they all saw him and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them and said unto them, Be of good cheer, it is I. Be not afraid. And he went up unto them, into the ship, and the wind ceased. And they were utterly amazed in themselves beyond measure, and wondered, for they considered not of the loaves, for their hearts were hardened. And when they had passed over, they came into the land of Gennesaret and drew to the shore. And when they had come out of the ship, immediately the people knew him and ran through that whole region round about, and began to carry about in beds those that were sick, where they heard he was. And wherever he entered, into villages or cities or country, they laid the sick in the streets and implored him that they might touch if it were but the border of his garments. And as many as touched him were made whole. Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes, who came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with unwashed hands, they found fault, for the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash hands oft, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. And when they come from the market, except they wash their bodies, they eat not. And many other things there are which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of dining couches. And the Pharisees and scribes asked him, Why do your disciples not walk according to the traditions of the elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands? He answered and said unto them, Well, as Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me, nevertheless, in vain do they worship me, teaching the doctrines and commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, you hold the tradition of men, the washing of pots and of cups, and many other such like things you do. And he said unto them, Yea, altogether you reject the commandment of God, that you may keep your own traditions. Full well is it written of you by the prophets whom you have rejected. They testified these things truly, and their blood shall be upon you. You have kept not the ordinances of God, for Moses said, Honor your father and your mother, and whoever curses father or mother, let him die the death of the transgressor, as it is written in your law. But you keep not the law. You say, If a man shall say to his father or mother, Korban, that is to say, a gift by whatsoever you might be profited by me, he is of age, and you suffer him no more to do anything for his father or his mother, making the word of God of no effect through your tradition which you have delivered. And many such things do you. And when he had called all the people, he said unto them, Listen unto me, everyone, and understand. There is nothing from outside that, entering into a man, can defile him, which is food. But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile the man, that proceeds forth out of the heart. If any man has ears to hear, let him hear. And when he had entered into the house from among the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he said unto them, Are you without understanding also? Do you not perceive that whatever thing from outside enters into the man cannot defile him? Because it enters not into his heart but into the belly, and goes out into the waste, purging all foods. And he said, That which comes out of the man defile the man, for from within, out of the hearts of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. And from there he arose and went into the borders of Tyre and Sidon, and entered into a house, and desired that no man should come unto him. But he could not deny them, for he had compassion upon all men. For a woman, whose young daughter had an unclean spirit, heard of him, and came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by nation. And she implored him that he would cast forth the devil out of her daughter. But Jesus said unto her, Let the children of the kingdom first be filled, for it is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it unto the dogs. And she answered and said unto him, Yes, Lord, you say truly, yet the dogs under the table eat of the children's crumbs. And he said unto her, For this saying, Go your way, the devil is gone out of your daughter. And when she had come to her house, she found that the devil had gone out and her daughter was laid upon the bed. And again departing from the regions of Tyre and Sidon, he came unto the Sea of Galilee, through the midst of the region of Decapolis. And they bring unto him one that was deaf, and had an impediment in his speech. And they implored him to put his hand upon him. And he took him aside from the multitude and put his finger into his ears, and he spit and touched his tongue. And, looking up to heaven, he sighed and said unto him, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. And immediately his ears were opened, and the string of his tongue was untied, and he spoke plain. And he charged them that they should tell no man. But the more he charged them, so much the more a great deal they published him, and were beyond measure astonished, saying, He has done all things well. He makes both the deaf to hear and the dumb to speak. In those days, the multitude being very great and having nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples and said unto them, I have compassion on the multitude because they have now been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. And if I send them away fasting to their own houses, they will faint by the way, for some of them came from afar. And his disciples answered him, From where can a man satisfy these, so great a multitude, with bread here in the wilderness? And he asked them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7. And he commanded the people to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and gave thanks, and broke and gave to his disciples to set before the people. And they did set them before the people. And they had a few small fishes, and he blessed them and commanded to set them also before the people, that they should eat. So they did eat and were filled. And they took up of the broken bread that was left 7 baskets. And they that had eaten were about 4,000. And he sent them away. And directly he entered into a ship with his disciples, and came into the ports of Dalmanutha. And the Pharisees came forth and began to question with him, seeking of him a sign from heaven, testing him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit, and said, Why does this generation seek after a sign? Truly I say unto you, there shall be no sign given unto this generation save the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so likewise shall the Son of Man be buried in the bowels of the earth. And he left them, and, entering into the ship again, he departed to the other side. Now the multitude had forgotten to take bread, neither had they in the ship with them more than 1 loaf. And he charged them, saying, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, He has said this because we have no bread. And when they said this among themselves, Jesus knew it. And he said unto them, Why do you reason because you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive? Neither understand? Are your hearts yet hardened? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves among the 5,000? How many baskets full of fragments did you take up? They say unto him, 12. And when the 7 among the 4,000, how many baskets full of fragments did you take up? And they said, 7. And he said unto them, How is it that you do not understand? And he comes to Bethsaida. And they bring a blind man unto him and implored him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the town. And when he had spit upon his eyes and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw anything. And he looked up and he said, I see men as trees walking. After that, he put his hands again upon his eyes and made him look up, and he was restored and saw every man clearly. And he sent him away to his house, saying, Neither go into the town nor tell what is done to any in the town.